A duende and a butter glitch are just two of the things we're going to read about today. What's up, glitches? I'm Auntie Matrix, and people send me their weird, unexplainable true stories to this email address, and I share those with you. I have thousands of unread emails in my inbox about things like glitches in the Matrix, dreams, aliens, and the paranormal, so if you're into that kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button and make sure to turn on notifications so that you never miss a video. Sit back, grab a snack, and let's get weird. Story about a gnome. Hello, Jess. Hi. I just watched a video of a flying baby, and it reminded me of a story my mom told me when she was a teenager living in El Salvador. She has many wild stories, but I think this one takes the cake. This all started in El Salvador. My mom had a friend that lived walking distance. My mom said that this girl was such a beautiful girl, naturally beautiful with gorgeous long hair, and she was a virgin, important for later. Anyways, her friend never left her house, and she later admitted to my mom that she was under the control of a duende. It's basically a gnome that people in South America have witnessed and believed to be true. So whenever my mom went to her house, her friend would sometimes tell her that he's next to her or walking past, but my mom has never seen it with her eyes. She would tell my mom that the gnome picked her because she was a virgin and loved her long hair. That's really creepy. She would feel him touch her hair, or she would wake up with her hair braided. What? She was so used to it that she wasn't even scared of him. My mom said that one time her friend decided to cut her hair, and the next day she woke up with a red mark on her cheek, never to see him again. Oh, he was mad about that. My mom has had a personal encounter with a duende before. Apparently, they will try to steal newborn babies. My mom had just given birth and left her firstborn in a room to sleep. She said she saw the lights turn off and then the baby screaming. She ran to see the bed shaking, but it immediately stopped when she turned on the lights. After calming him down, she put him down for a nap with the lights on and the door open. As soon as my mom was distracted, she heard her baby cry. She ran in the room only to see that he wasn't there and the window open. She ran outside as far as she can to see her baby on the floor crying. She never left her newborn alone after that. Oh my God. Did the baby stealing thing happen after she was visiting the friend? Well, it had to, right? Because she was a child when she was visiting her friend. She used to go hang out there and the duende was there. I wonder if it followed her or if this was a completely different one. Oh my God, first of all, can we talk about how scary it would be to wake up to your hair braided or feel someone caressing your hair and then to have your baby taken? Nope. Nope, no thank you. Haunted bedroom, haunted land, still not sure 30 years later. When I was a kid, I lived with my grandma and grandpa, and we lived in a house that they had built with their own two hands. We were the only ones to ever live in it. We had this extra bedroom that was in the back of the house, and it always gave me the creeps. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but every time I would step a foot in there, I just always felt that was where I did not belong or that I was being watched. Aside from that, everything was fine and dandy until I was about 8 years old. This one specific week in late May is a week I will never forget. So many odd things happened. The first was there was a man had been arrested who lived in the next neighborhood above us for murder and for killing his mom and 13 other women he had picked up at bars over the years. The man had been disposing of all of the bodies in this pond that was down our road, not even 2 minutes from our house. We had a dirt road and the mailman only delivered mail to the end of the road, so me and my pawpaw would go check the mail every day. That day when we tried to, there were tons of cops, scuba divers retrieving the bodies from the pond and news channels everywhere, so we had to turn back and go home. A few days later, Nanny and Pawpaw were going to get started planting their garden. Pawpaw got the tractor out and started plowing. That was my favorite time of year because we lived over top of a cave system, and when Pawpaw could plow, it would bring quartz to the surface, and me and Nanny would walk the aisles before planting with mason jars and collect all the quartz that we would find. Every now and then, we would even find arrowheads. I heard Pawpaw turn the tractor off and he yelled for me to go inside and tell my nanny to come out. This particular time, it wasn't quartz that had come to the surface. It was a human femur bone. My nanny's first thought was that man who had been killing people had buried someone in our garden or something. She called the cops immediately, but they assured her that they didn't think that was the case. It didn't fit his style, and I guess after getting more people out there, they were able to determine it was an old bone. They had a team come out and dig, and they did recover a few more bones and then went on their way and said that they'd be in contact if anything came from the testing. This was in '98, so I don't think DNA testing was really advanced yet. Months and months later, they called and told her that they were able to determine it was of Native American descent, but a few days after the bone was found was the first time I was ever truly scared in that house. Yeah, that room freaked me out, but I just stayed away from it, easy peasy. Anywhere else in the house, I felt perfectly fine and safe. I remember waking up, though, and looking over at the clock. It was exactly 3:33, and then I heard snapping at the door. It sounded like someone with rough hands was standing outside the bedroom door, which would have been the scary room because mine and my nanny's room was right beside it, just snapping in sets of 3. I just automatically assumed it was my pawpaw trying to wake my nanny up, so I started to shake her to try to wake her up since she wasn't waking up from the snapping, but I couldn't get her to wake up. I felt like I was shaking her with all my might, but she wouldn't move, all while I kept hearing snap, snap, snap the entire time. I finally said, I can't wake her up, pawpaw, but I didn't get a response, just more snapping. I turned back over to continue to try to wake up my nanny and noticed the clock still said 3:33. It felt like this had been going on forever. How could it still be 3:33? I was really starting to get scared at this point and I started crying. Finally, the clock changed to 3:34, and as soon as it did, Nanny woke up. I was still crying and she asked what in the world was going on, and I told her about the snapping, and I was bawling at this point saying, Pawpaw was really scaring me. He could have at least said something when I was trying to talk to him to tell him you wouldn't wake up. He didn't have to just stand there and keep snapping. And she tried her hardest to convince me that it was a dream. But I knew better. I know with everything in me, without a shadow of a doubt, I was 100% awake. I just laid there because I couldn't go back to sleep, and she had to get up for work soon, which I was dreading because I was still scared to death. I pretended to be asleep, but when she got up, so did Pawpaw, and they'd always have coffee before she had to leave for work. I heard her ask him, did you get up last night around 3:30 and try to come in there and wake me up? And I heard him say, clear as day, nope, I sure didn't. I didn't get up until you did. Okay then, so who was standing outside that door snapping? For the remainder of the time we lived in that house, which was 5 years, we moved when I was 13, I never went near that scary room again. Actually, I still slept in the bed with my nanny until we moved. Judge me all you want, but what happened that night put the fear in me, and you couldn't have pried me from my nanny's side after dark after that event happened. A few years ago, when I was talking to my nanny on the phone, I asked her if she remembered that night, and she said that she did, and I was just telling her how I'd never forget it because it scared me so bad, and how I truly believed we had a visitor of some sort that night, and how badly I hated that back bedroom, and what an eerie feeling I would get when I went in there. My nanny isn't a person who would tell ghost stories or even lead us to believe something like that was real. She didn't believe in ghosts, or so she made it seem, so I honestly expected her to just giggle at what I said, but her reply actually took me back because I wasn't expecting it. She said, no, I believe you. Why do you think I always kept that room closed off? I got the same bad feeling in there, almost like something was always in there watching me when I'd go in. I just didn't like the way it made me feel. It's not like I couldn't have used the space, but I'd used the attic before I'd want to use that room, and it only got worse after that bone was found. When your pawpaw wanted to move, I was ready to go that day. She told me some more stories of things that she had experienced after that. She said I always had believed in what I could see with my own 2 eyes. I really didn't think things like spirits were real. I still don't know if they are, but if anything could have convinced me, it would have been that house. One more odd thing is, if I ever dream about someone who's been close to me that's passed away, whether it be my dad, brother, or just friends, they all take place in that house. I can't recall a single time that I have dreamed about someone in my life who's passed and the dream took place anywhere besides that house. Maybe that's just a coincidence, I don't know, but I can't help but it feels like there's some sort of connection. I have another crazy story about a whole entire week straight I dreamed of the house, but I'll save that one for later. This was already a novel. I wonder what was up with that room. Do you think like the veil in that room was really thin or something? Maybe that's also why this person dreams of all of their past loved ones in that house, in that room? The snapping freaks me out. I've never heard of snapping. Always when people talk about hearing noises, it's normally knocks. It's normally like 3 knocks or other kinds of noises. I've never heard of snapping. That's very interesting. And I love that her grandma validated what she had experienced, even though it was later. It's kind of like a hard line, right? When you have young children that are experiencing something like this, you don't know if you should tell them, hey, I believe you. I think this is probably a ghost. Or do you just be like, oh no, it's it's just a dream? Because you want to validate them, but at the same time, you don't want to scare them. You know what I mean? It's like a very hard line to figure out which side you should be on. I'm going to tell you right now, though, that was not her pawpaw standing up snapping. And I definitely feel like digging up those bones really rustled up the spirit or something. But they already felt weird about that room even before the bones were found. What do you guys think? Great story. Thank you so much for sharing. This thing has been following me for 15 years. Hi, Auntie. Hi. I love your videos, and you. I love you too. I have a ghost story for you and your followers. This is a very long and possible multiple parts if you are interested. Yes, we're interested. Years ago, my family moved into our new house. I was 9 years old and full of adventure. This house was perfect for my family. It was dad, mom, brother, and I. 2 stories. In the basement, we had a bomb shelter. In the living room, this thing always gave me the creeps. I could never put my finger on it other than it being a scary, damp room that led to nowhere. I often spent the entire day avoiding the basement. And that should have been perfect considering that's where my brother's room was and we did not get along at that time. One summer day, everyone was out of the house except for me. I had planned on snacking on junk food and watching my favorite cartoons. My mother had other plans for me. She gave me a list of chores to get done before she gets home. One of the chores was to do my laundry. So I started on my chores. I started with the laundry, drug it downstairs, loaded the washer with my clothes, put the soap in, and turned it on. I heard a knock from inside of the bomb shelter. Nope. Nope. At the same time, I heard heavy footsteps like someone was stomping, yet dragging their feet. Mind you, I was completely alone and no one would be home for hours. Oh my God, I have chills. So I booked it up the stairs when I heard something chasing me upstairs. I booked it out the door and to the garage. I ran to my friends and I made him sit with me until someone was home. This was my first encounter with anything spooky like this. Fast forward a few years later, I was now 11 and I had unfortunately lost my mother unexpectedly. I'm so sorry. My family was deep in grief. My dad started dating again. Let's call her Elle. I was sleeping in my room with his girlfriend's daughter and her B. Oh, okay, we're calling her B. Elle went to bed early, complaining of a headache and clouded vision. She's extremely gifted. She can see things that most people can't. And the vibe was just off that night. Everyone ended up going to bed early. Before B and I went to bed, I was talking about my mom and how much I missed her. B mentioned that she thought she felt her presence in the room. I went to bed with a smile on my face, embracing in what I thought was my mother's ghostly embrace. Around 2:30 to 3 a.m., all of my lights, my keyboard, like a miniature piano, it rolled out and everything. Honestly, miss that thing. Any and every electronic device in the house started flickering. The stomping and knocking from years before was present. The air felt thick. Time felt like it stopped. I saw a dark figure crawl from my closet over to me. Its face was inches from my face. I was frozen in fear. I remember thinking that it smelled like rotten meat. It stared into my soul and screamed, "You're next," and then disappeared inside of me. What is happening? Oh my God. Inside of you. I started coughing and I passed out. I seriously do not remember what happened next, but it felt as if I was living someone else's life with absolutely no control. Are you possessed? The only thing I could remember was hearing my dad, Elle, and B screaming and shaking me. I woke up the next morning and we immediately went to the nearest witchy store to get things that you need to protect our house. Elle mentioned that she felt this thing all day. She saw it crawling up the stairs and linger in the kitchen, hovering over me, and she smelt the rotten meat smell. A few months go by and Elle and my dad break up. I was very depressed and vulnerable. Filled with grief, I fell into my first deep depression. I barely remember what happened during this time. It literally felt like I was in a trance. We ended up moving back to our old house, and it gets even crazier from here. I'm going to end here, but let me know if you want part 2. Are you kidding? Of course we want part 2. I think this will be multiple parts because this will be very long. Otherwise, I don't care. We like it long. We love the long. Give us the long. The thing is still following me years later, and this was just the beginning. Thank you for giving my story your time. If you do, I did. Oh my God. Guys, what is happening? What was in the house? Do we think somebody died in that house and the bomb? Do we think it has to do with the bomb shelter? All I know is it went inside of you, like literally, like it did it like possess you? What? Is it still there? I need more. We need more. We need more. We want more. We want more. I named my child after a little dead boy I used to talk to. Hello. Hi. I love hearing everyone's stories and knowing that I'm not alone. I have loved seeing and speaking to the dead since I could talk. But one child that I have never met living has always stuck with me, and although I don't see or speak to him anymore, when it came to naming my baby, Rainbow Baby after 2 miscarriages, his name was the only name I could think about. So I have a baby girl named Charlie. The story of Charlie. I was working as a lifeguard at a hotel that has a water park. I was 16 at the time. Place was always packed with kids, so I can't say when the first time I saw, but I started to realize I was seeing the same child every shift for weeks. How? I would watch him and see if I could tell if he was with any family. Never did, he just wandered around. I was always stuck at my post and I couldn't leave to approach him. One day he caught me looking at him and he immediately perked up and smiled. Not like a creepy smile, but like a pure joy smile of a child. After he noticed me, he really started playing, interacting, and playing pranks. My locker would open after I closed it. He would watch me and peek around corners, but he really did it when he was in the water face down, and not realizing it was him, I jumped in to save him. Blew my whistle and everything. Try explaining to your boss jumping in to save someone that wasn't there. I was sent home early. On my drive home, I looked in my rearview mirror and guess who was with me? This is when we started talking. I would just start asking questions about him, and later on in dreams, I would get my answers. I asked his name, and I would dream of my childhood friend from when I was 5, Charlie. And I asked what happened next night, and then I dreamt of him in a car accident, and so on. About a month in, I was able to find out that he was 7 years old, name was Charlie, and he died by a car hitting him. I felt really close to him, and as time went on, I started seeing him less, and randomly he would appear in my dreams. Fast forward to finding out I was pregnant for the 3rd time. I spoke/prayed to whoever or whatever was listening to let this be a successful pregnancy and let me have my baby. Well, guess who came to me that night? Charlie. He told me the baby was healthy and him and my grandpa were going to make sure I got to hold my baby. I knew immediately my baby had to be named Charlie. Today, I have a beautiful baby girl that is in the 97th percentile in everything. She's my miracle baby that was sent down to me. Oh my God, I can't believe you named your baby after your little ghost friend. What I'm interested in is where Charlie came from. Because I would think that a spirit is connected to something, right? So the fact that he was in the place where you were working, I would think, okay, maybe he passed away there, or he's attached to something there. But if he was then in your car, was he like attached to you for some reason? I wonder if he was some kind of like guide or something, because then he was coming to you in your dreams and he like even told you, okay, we're bringing you the baby. I'm not really sure about this, but this was like a really cool story. Thank you so much for sharing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Weird party glitch. Hello, Auntie. Hi. This is a bit of a strange one. Over the years, I've experienced weird glitchy moments, objects disappearing, seeing orbs, etc. But this sticks with me the most and I still remember it like it was yesterday. When I was about 16 years old, I had this crazy dream where I was at my pal's house with the usual group of friends. Folks were laughing, joking, and having a good time. I remember this strange person in the corner who wouldn't leave me alone, but just ignored him. Then this really cute guy I liked asked me why I was so pale. I explained I had anemia, so I had to take a lot of iron supplements. But I was nervous talking to him, so really over-explained it and embarrassed myself. Anyways, I woke up and thought, wow, that was a crazy dream, and thought it was even funnier that it felt so real. I had a night out, but was tucked up in my room at home. Fast forward about 2 weeks, I was hanging out with my friends when suddenly I look around and I'm in the dream. It was exactly the same. The same folks sat on the floor/sofa, etc. Even the strange person, he was a guy who had latched onto another person who came to my friend's house and just took a liking to me, and the feelings weren't mutual. Then the cute guy leaned over and asked why I was so pale. I remember the faff and the embarrassment of trying to explain to him. So all I said was, I just am. And he went back to what he was doing. I turned to my friend and tried to explain to her, but she said it was just in my head and I was being silly. Even though I was able to say a word at the same time as someone in the room telling a story, same story from the dream, she still didn't believe me. Ugh. Ew. But I now know it to be true, even though it was 23 years ago. Yikes. I remember it as clear as day now. I have no idea why I dreamt that night in advance. Was it to warn me about the strange guy or to tell me to be cooler to the cute boy? LOL, no idea, but still my craziest glitch. Hope you enjoyed, and I love your TikToks. I'm just going through all of your YouTube videos to catch up on the ones I've missed. Oh, thank you! This was a cool little thing. You definitely had like a premonition. Why? I'm not so sure. Normally a premonition, not normally, but a lot of the times a premonition is to help you, like warn you of something or save you from something or help you with something. This seemed to not really be anything. So I feel like potentially this was one of those things. So I feel like when you're opening up to your abilities, you get tested with smaller things, see what you can handle and where you are. And then as you get more comfortable with that, then you get better things. So maybe you would start dreaming about these kind of things. And then as you believed it and you had confidence in it and you were feeling better about it, maybe then you would be given different premonitions that were more serious or more helpful or something else. Does that make sense? Maybe your friend, and I'm really sorry that your friend didn't believe you because that sucks when people don't believe you, but maybe your friend telling you like, it was just a dream. That didn't actually happen. Maybe that kind of discouraged you mentally. So then you kind of closed off to it a little bit. And unless it's happened again, I'm assuming it hasn't happened again because you didn't mention that, but I have no idea, honestly. Either way, I love that you were like cooler to the cute boy because of your dream. Visitation from the Afterlife. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi! I absolutely love what you do. This world is full of unexplainable things, and I'm glad you created a platform where people can share their stories and not be judged. Thank you! About a year and a half after my father passed away, I found myself in a really dark place, questioning everything about our existence, God, and the afterlife. It's important to mention that my mom was killed in a car accident 10 months before my dad passed of diabetes. Oh my goodness. He had been struggling with his health since I could remember, but was a fighter. I truly believed Mom was his reason to fight all those years, as he passed shortly after. We were all so close, and growing up, my siblings and I became his personal nurses at a very young age. Anyway, that year and a half after losing him, I was still devastated. I had lost both of my parents and lost my purpose in life since they were my everything. I was angry at God, angry at life, angry at the universe, and even angry at people who still had parents. It was part of my grieving process. One night, as I cried myself to sleep, I begged my dad for a sign. I asked him if he could hear me and to give me a sign. That night, I had the most beautiful and life-changing visitation. It was weird because we had a picnic in what I could describe as a very busy corporate building with tons of people passing by us. We sat in front of these escalators that seemed infinite. Despite all the people, I felt as if we were the only ones there. I had 100% focus on him. I held his hand to make sure I could touch him. It felt just like in real life. I told him I had so many questions, so I began. I asked him if he could see us. He said, "Yes, we see everything. We are very proud." I asked him if he was with Mom. He said, "Yes, Mom and I are together. We both see everything you all do, and we are with a lot of people that we love." Probably referring to all my grandparents who passed when I was young. I proceeded to ask if they knew about my nieces. My nieces, the first babies of our immediate family, were born about a year after my dad passed. It always made me very sad that my parents never met or had grandchildren, but it was even sadder to think that my nieces would grow up never getting a chance to meet them. He then answered, "Yes, we know them. We sent them here." He then said he was running out of time when I told him I had one last question. Does God exist? He paused, looking at me in the eyes, and said, "We are not allowed to answer that question. You have to find that answer within yourself." He got up, gave me a hug, and went up those escalators, waving back at me. I woke up bawling. I never again questioned if they could see us or watched over us. Fast forward, my sister always told my niece how, before she came into this world, she was a shining star, and then she was placed into her tummy. About a year ago, my sister was telling us that my niece, 4 years old, started talking about my parents and how she knew them. My sister was confused because obviously she never had. So she asked her, "When did you see them?" And she said, "Not here, Mommy. When I was a shining star, I saw them." Oh my God, I have so many goosebumps. I was in shock, and it took me right back to that dream. Thank you so much for reading my story. It would be amazing if you could share it on YouTube, as I took a break from TikTok as a New Year's resolution, but came to follow you on YouTube. Oh my God, I did not even read that part, but here you are in my YouTube video. Oh my God, that was such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. I love those when we get visitation and confirmation from loved ones that they are here with us and they can see us all the time. And I love that your niece was talking to your parents like before she came here, and your dad had said that they sent them. So beautiful. I love it. I love this story so much. Thank you so much for sharing. The time I dreamt of the apocalypse. Hey, Auntie Matrix. Hi, and all the lovely people who may hear this. First, I'd like to thank you for creating such a safe space for us all. Also, I'm not sure how long my story is going to be. I haven't ever written it out before. I've always had super realistic dreams that I feel like I'm living different lives. Dreams that leave me feeling as if I truly experienced them. This was the first vivid dream I can remember. I was about 4, I think. I'm going to write it the way it played in my mind. It's always hard to remember the beginning. I was playing in the yard with my brother, and it was a bright day. It had to be early afternoon. My parents had friends over for a party, just a normal day. Suddenly, everything got dark, and it was like someone had muted the sound. I looked up and noticed the stars as close as the moon, but not as bright. Then the wind started blowing super hard. I could hear screams in it, so I covered my ears. I don't know how long I sat like that, squeezing my eyes closed, but it couldn't have been longer than a few minutes. Out of nowhere, my mom grabbed my hand and started to pull toward a train. I was too scared to even question where it had come from. We didn't live near any trains. As we got on board, the conductor was explaining that the world was collapsing in 5 minutes. I could hear his voice coming from every car on the train, even though he was speaking softly in front of me. He looked down to me, and I saw shadow and light dancing in his eyes. This is the last chance for us to move to a safer place. Once the doors close, there's no going back. My mom tried to ask what he meant and what happened to those who didn't get on the train. However, he just looked forward and repeated his speech again and again. We were pushed along deeper into the train after that. There were so many people inside the cars that I lost my grip on my mom. I pushed my way to the window, desperately watching for my loved ones. Slowly, they all got to the steps of the train and I started to breathe again. After an eternity, it seemed the conductor's voice sounded again. Last call, all those wishing to depart must now board. Looking around, I started to relax as I saw my siblings. I still couldn't reach them, but I knew they were with me. I heard the doors begin to close and looked back to the window. Just before the final click of the doors, I saw my mom jump out and start running back toward our house. I screamed at the top of my lungs, banging on the window, but no one seemed to notice. I begged for the doors to open. That can't happen, I heard. The train jolted into motion and I could see my mom waving as bright flames raised behind her. That's when I woke up. I felt disoriented and couldn't shake the feelings I had before I woke. I continued to have the same dream at least twice a year until I was 12. Always the same dream. The only thing that would change would be the person who was left behind. The dream finally stopped when I actually got to the safer place. I eventually did get there, but that's a different dream. Thank you so much for taking time to read my story. I love you and you're an amazing storyteller. Positive energies to all and have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. P.S. Let me know if you'd like to hear about the New World Dream. Yes, we would like to hear about the New World Dream. This was very interesting. I am in no way a dream analyzer or interpreter. I don't know if it was just a dream, a recurring dream, or if she was visiting some other plane of existence or dimension or timeline in that dream, or if this is a premonition for something to come. I don't know if the train is more of like a metaphor for something. I honestly am not sure what to say about this at all. I would love to hear everybody's opinions and stuff in the comments. Please let me know what you think. Thank you so much for sharing. Butter glitch. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi! I love your content and I have been watching you for a few months now. I've always heard of paranormal stories and it wasn't until recently after stumbling upon your page that I learned about glitches in the Matrix. I've never really realized this could be possible, so I may have unknown stories of things going missing and reappearing that I just didn't notice in the moment. Now that my life and knowledge of dimensions has been completely flipped upside down, I'm starting to notice more and more unusual activity, maybe because I'm looking for it, I don't know, but I can officially say that I've had my first experience. I'll start off by saying that I'm a stay-at-home wife with 4 children. I'm not on any hallucinogens, strong medications, or anything that can alter my state of mind besides medical marijuana. Yes, I know it can make you sleepy, paranoid, or forgetful, etc., but I have been smoking for years and I'm fully functional when doing so. My husband does not smoke and is only on light pain medication for his back due to a motorcycle accident in his teens, which does not affect his state of mind either. We do have a couple of drinks at the end of the night to relax after adulting and parenting, but at this moment we did not have a single drink yet. So, short story long. I went to the grocery store while my husband was at home with our munchkins, which I usually don't do only because he normally stops on his way home from work, but that day he got off early and I offered to go. At the store, I grabbed almost everything I needed that wasn't cold and started to head over to the cold section before leaving. I very vividly remember grabbing butter only because the section that it's in, there is a man stocking the shelves and I had to navigate my cart in between his cart and the shelf so I could grab the butter. And I remember grabbing the big container because again, we have 4 kids and you can only imagine the amount of cooking we have to do for the 6 of us. I even remember putting it next to the cat litter bag I had in my cart because it fit perfectly in the space that was there. I pay and load the groceries in the front seat and make my way home. When I get home, my husband always comes out to open my door and help me out of the car. Oh my God, that is so sweet. It's the little things. It's the little things. He proceeds to the passenger side where the groceries are, opens the door, and of course, a bag falls out. I check to make sure nothing fell out of the bag. We grab the groceries together and head inside. We put the groceries away and a little later started dinner. We were having steak that night, which he always cooks with butter. I was in the bathroom and he calls out to me and asks if I got butter. I said yes, and he says he doesn't see it. So as a mother that I am with the magical ability to find everything my family misplaces or just can't see right in front of their faces, I hear that, I make my way out to check the fridge to find the butter. Nowhere to be found. So I figure it fell out of the bag that fell out of my car when we were unloading. I go to check my front seat, back seat, under the seats, and anywhere else that container could have been, including under my car or the grass where the bag fell. Still couldn't find it. I went back inside and traced my steps, double-checked the fridge, had my husband double-check the fridge, and it was still nowhere. I thought maybe it fell out when I was loading my groceries at the store, and I just gave up. So we scraped the bottom of the almost empty butter container for dinner that night and just planned to get some tomorrow. Fast forward to the very next day. I honestly forget why my husband was home because, as I said, he normally picks up groceries on the way home for work, but maybe he was home early again that day. I'm not sure. We hadn't been to the store yet, so he was going through our fridge to see what we needed, and my husband says, "Thanks for getting butter." I instantly knew it was the missing butter, and I said, "Are you serious? I didn't go to the store today." And he said, "Well, the butter is here." So I go to look and there's the fucking butter. As ridiculous of a story as it is, it still blew my mind. I swear my husband swears the butter was gone. Thanks for listening, and I hope to come back with another story. God bless and stay safe, Matrix stirs. That's cute. Okay, I was like, all right, they lost the butter. Maybe she forgot to ring the butter up. Maybe before you loaded it into your car, something happened at the store. And I thought that was going to be the end of the story. We lost the butter. And I'm thinking, okay, is this story really a glitch in the Matrix? Or is it just like we lost something? But, it's hard to tell sometimes. But then the butter is in the damn fridge the next day. And the husband's like, thanks for getting the butter. I didn't get the butter. What do you mean you didn't get the butter? The butter's in the fridge. And they looked everywhere. They looked in the fridge, in the bags, all around, in the car, on the floor. They used the rest of the old butter and scraped it out because they couldn't find the butter. And then the butter's just sitting in the fridge. Glitch in the Matrix. Congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing your first glitch in the Matrix. A very woo-woo story. Back in high school, I'm 28 now, my friends and I would play a game called the pencil game. Now thinking about it, I would really love to know who initiated this game even to begin with. Please do not try playing this game. So to play, you need 6 unsharpened pencils. Also keep in mind it's a 2-player game. Each person holds 3 pencils, like all eraser ends between your thumb and pointer finger, so both need to hold the pencils like this and connect them together, ultimately making a rectangle shape. Start asking questions and the pencils will literally move on their own. What? If I'm not mistaken, it's up for yes, down for no, and outwards and inwards for maybe. When we'd really have nothing else to do and nothing else to talk about, we would always be playing this game. It was so mysterious and fun to us, and we'd always try to come up with some explanation that maybe it's physics, maybe it's the lead, some scientific explanation. After a few months passed, I was sitting with my dad outside the living room, and he was really into the news, and I was next to him, really into the conversation I was having through text. And at the corner of my eye, I could have sworn I saw a thick, black, shadowy mass appear and then disappear all in the corner of my eye. Don't ask me why I continued with my conversation and didn't even care about it, LOL. I almost didn't ask, but luckily I did ask, did you see that, to my dad? In which he replied, the black smoke? And I said, yeah. And he replied with, yeah. I'm laughing while typing this because of how careless we were about it. We simply just carried on, not even asking where it came from. Around this time, I also had the worst sleep paralysis in my life. I had insomnia, so I decided to put on Thomas the Train to fall asleep. I woke up in the middle of the night to find myself completely paralyzed, and I knew instantly that I was in a state of sleep paralysis. Only my eyes could move. All of a sudden, the TV screen started static, getting all distorted. Usually my sleep paralysis, I only get frozen and I never see things. So to have been seeing the screen getting like that drew concern to me, and saw this shadowy figure come up to my bed near where my head was lying and started to tell me off. I couldn't hear what it was saying, but it was nearly like he was scolding me. Also, there was this loud sound, almost like a wob from some big machine. When I finally moved, I sprung up drenched in sweat. I still like paranormal stories, but you'll never catch me playing these kind of games ever again. Okay, first of all, this pencil game, I'm trying to envision the way that you're holding the pencils in this game, but it's reminding me of dowsing rods, which you can use to communicate with spirits. If you don't want to know what a dowsing rod is, it's like there's like a little rod. Let me get another one. It's like a little thing that you hold, and then there's this rod on the end of it. And you hold 2 of them in your hands, and they're supposed to go like one way for yes, one way for no. They can point at things. It's reminding me of that. So maybe you guys were like making your own dowsing rods with pencils, because I know as far as like pendulums go for divination, like you can make a pendulum basically out of anything. So maybe you were kind of using dowsing rods and you were connecting with spirits. My question is, what were you talking about with the pencils? What kind of conversations were you having? Like, what kind of questions were you asking? So immediately when you said you saw a black figure and you referred to it as black smoke, I obviously thought of supernatural and I thought of demons. But the fact that you had sleep paralysis and something was scolding you, you felt like something was scolding you, maybe that was not a bad being. Maybe it was a good being and it was telling you like, hey, stop fucking with this shit or something bad is going to happen. Because, I mean, it worked. You never played with anything ever again, right? I mean, I guess whether it was bad or good, you still listened. I've never heard. Have you guys ever heard of the pencil game? This is a great story. Thank you so much for sharing. My body's soul is dead. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I haven't been watching your videos for a long time, but I'm hooked. The supernatural and unexplainable have never been something I was interested in, but I have started to wonder, and I thank you for this curiosity. As a warning, this will have mentions of psychological/emotional abuse, so bear with me. As a child, I was emotionally and psychologically abused by my family members, and especially my mother. She was relentless, and she always made my siblings gang up on me. Along with this, I was always bullied in school, and I had no friends. The only social interactions I had were with adults, and they would vent about serious topics to me. As a reminder, I was only around 7 at the time. Eventually, all of this collapsed on me, and my personality shifted drastically. I went into a deep depression, and I thought everything was hopeless. I began to have an immense fear of death, and I would have panic attacks about it almost nightly. Things only got worse as I aged and became a teen. This is where the story gets interesting. At 13 years of age, I was the most depressed I have ever been in my entire life, and this eventually sparked my intriguing dream. The dream starts in blackness. Slowly, a feminine voice echoes and bounces in the voice, and as a light graduates into existence, I finally see who the voice is coming from. 2 figures approach me, and one I already am acquainted with. The second, however, is a little unknown to me. She had blonde hair, big blue eyes, and an aura of love. The one I knew, who was wearing a luxurious robe with sleeves so long you could barely see the fingers, rubs the girl's back and speaks directly to me. Just so you know, the face of this person is never revealed. The being says in a grandiose way, "This soul has died. I am asking if you would like her vessel." What? I immediately turned my gaze to the girl and asked why she chose to die. She replied by saying, "Life was too hard. I'm happy with my decision." The girl smiled greatly, and I could tell that she missed smiling. After I agreed to enter the girl's vessel, a blazing light shot across my vision, and I was blinded. In an instant, and in a gasp, I woke up from the dream. However, there were some new oddities about me. I couldn't remember most of my memories, and the ones that I did seemed to only exist to add to a narrative or a purpose to keep hope. Another oddity was that I had prophetic dreams. I dreamt about people dying and having injuries and medical emergencies, and each one came true. I had a few visions early on that I relived in the present moment later. I had moments of deja vu in the past that happened within the last few years. However, the craziest change that I have noticed is my ability to know. I'll explain. Soon after the dream, I had an urge to know things that I couldn't possibly know. I found ways to get my answers. I did this by grabbing any object that contained words or numbers, closing my eyes and guiding my finger across the object, and finally stopping when I felt a tingling in my chest and fingers. When this happened, my answer was found. To my disbelief, this method works 99% of the time. The only times I have gotten things wrong is if I didn't feel the tightening in my body. My question to you, Auntie Matrix, and to others is, what do you think happened to me? Is this all a reaction to my childhood trauma, or am I in tune with something of higher power? I don't have too many stories of recent times, and I figured this is because I started to have happiness for the first time. But my ability of knowing persists. Thank you for reading this, and thank you for creating a space where people can feel seen and heard for their supernatural/unexplainable stories. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for sharing this. So this kind of reminds me of a walk-in, I think it's called. I think Dolores Cannon calls it a walk-in. When a soul is in a body and they decide that they don't want to do it anymore, and the soul leaves the body, and then another soul steps into the vessel, but instead of the body just dying. I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not, please somebody correct me. That's what this reminds me of. However, it's interesting to me that the person brought this blonde girl up to you and said, "This soul has died. Do you want her vessel?" And you say yes, and you're going into her vessel. Because if your soul went into her vessel, wouldn't you look like this girl now? Because the vessel is the human form, correct? So wouldn't you look like her now? And what would happen to your body? Would your body die? Your old body? It seemed like none of that happened because you didn't mention your appearance being different, although you mentioned some of your memories being messed up. I'm not sure exactly how any of that works, but this is the only thing that I can think of. This is very interesting. I would love to hear what people think in the comments. Please let me know if you resonate with this, if you've had any experiences like this, if you have any more information about what I'm saying. I'm very interested. This is very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. That concludes our creepy compilation for today. If you have a story that you want to share, you can send it to auntiematrix@gmail.com. You can find my merch, my Discord, and all my other links at tessicavision.com. We also hang out and read stories live here on YouTube and on TikTok, so make sure you look out for that. And remember, we believe you. If you want to keep it going here, you can check out this video or this playlist.